Thank you everybody for joining. So business agility and business/enterprise architecture. How can enterprise architecture, business architecture practices help companies on their business agility journey? This is a question that I was really pondering for a couple of years now, because what I understand, I am originally, as per my profession, coming from the more structural side of things. So growing from the business process management space through the business architecture, enterprise architecture profession. When I learned about agile methods and agile practices and started working in this space, gained my Scrum Master certification and some other agile training, and when I started implementing more of the agile mindset into my consulting, I was surprised that there wasn't more collaboration between those professional fields and between those two, let's say, professions. And one of my missions is to bring the two worlds together, the world of agile and business agility and the world of business and enterprise architecture, because I believe that together those skill sets and those tool sets can really help organizations to address the challenges that are appearing on daily basis these days in the disruptive economic environment that we are operating in. So that's kind of the background of where I'm coming from. I really cherish both the skill sets and mindsets. And what I haven't seen in the marketplace is those disciplines being used together to their full potential. I'm not going to cover all the details today. Today we have just an hour together. So I will provide you with an introduction into how I think enterprise architecture fits in the world of business agility, why I think it has an immense potential to contribute to the agile journeys, and basically my suggestion would really be for agile professionals and business agility professionals to get their architecture training so that they can help with that additional tool in their tool set to their clients to really, it's like it helps us also to address certain challenges that companies on their agile journey chronically face. And yeah, we will mention some of them during the talk. Padma did introduce me. I'm trying to move to the to the next page. So let me see. Yeah, now it's working. Padma introduced me, so I'm not going to do that again, but maybe I'll move this. So if you have your mobile phones at hand, you can just use the QR code, and I will be very happy to stay in touch via LinkedIn, which is my favorite social media platform, because it keeps us in touch in the professional, in the business space, and also in the academic space, where I'm pursuing my doctoral research at the University of Economics here in Prague. So yeah, so feel free to stay in touch. I hope I left it up for long enough. So if you are watching the recording, you can always pause the video. And I'm going to move here just a few logos of some of my clients where I delivered different types of projects in different capacity, as a consultant, as a trainer, as a coach, as a mentor. And I consider myself incredibly fortunate to have an opportunity to serve to companies in many different industries across many different geographies, because that enables me to learn from each of them and to bring this knowledge and knowledge of those mindsets, skill sets, tool sets, all those companies are using, and use that knowledge for, to enrich my framework, as well as to apply this knowledge to my customers and training clients going forward. So one of my roles and let's say passions is to bring different worlds together, and I'm really very fortunate to be able to do it also across the geographies, as well as across industries, as well as across different cultures, where of course I would be more proficient in some than in others. So this is the top level schema from my Blue Heart framework. I called it Blue Heart framework, and there is a story behind this. I explained the story actually in an interview I gave a couple of years back to Speakers Institute in Sydney. So I will try to search for it because I don't want to spend time explaining this here, and it wouldn't be the right place anyway. But maybe if you were wondering what is it about the Blue Heart, I will search for the link to the recording. I think at least the audio recording should be available in the public space, and you can hear the story if you were curious. And what this schema represents is basically how I learned about how there are always different dimensions of reality, but these are 3 specific dimensions of reality where I thought these are really foundational for enabling business agility of a company. And I will talk about the difference that I see between the topic of business agility as a trait, that as a skill that a company has a capability actually, as opposed to agile methods. And probably most of the audience is familiar with more than one agile framework. And we know that these frameworks and methods and methodologies, they provide us with amazing volume of knowledge, experience, techniques. At the same time, there is certain scope that they cover, and there are disciplines that are not covered by those methods. And this is something that of course comes with the level of maturity of that discipline, of the discipline of applying agile methods across different functions in companies, or you can say different departments. Because of course in software development, where the agile methods are coming from, agile is not new for many practitioners. So it's like, I think 20-25 years old, maybe even older for some. And of course some people were working in the agile, and some teams were working in the agile manner even before we had some official agile frameworks and somebody put it in some body of knowledge. But in many other areas of human work, including different other areas of companies and organizations worldwide, agile is pretty new thing, and it's a pretty new way of thinking, pretty new skill set and tool set that is being introduced to the team members. And with that comes an amount of, quite a large amount of us learning what are all the different things that are not covered by the agile methods. And I think that's the place where partially the business architecture, business enterprise architecture can help. And of course, there will be many other disciplines that we need to apply in a company. We can't think that agile methods and their implementation is going to be the holy grail, and the company will solve all their problems. But sometimes with the hype, which I think we are already a little bit like behind the peak, the expectations on the customer side, on the organizational side, where like, yeah, this is like a big deal. It's gonna solve a lot. We need to be very realistic, and we need to be very transparent and have very good understanding of what is it we are addressing with the Agile methods, and what is it that can't be addressed by Agile methods because of the scope of those methods and methodologies. So back to the schema. I'll put those additional labels in here. So where I see the Agile methods and techniques playing the most important role is around building the Agile team culture. So one thing is I'm kind of combining two dimensions in each of those circles. So here it's the level of team, and it's the level of those methods and techniques, ways of working. And I'm also combining two dimensions in the other two circles. So here in the Agile business structures, I'm focusing more on the enterprise-wide view of the organization. Sorry, I need to cough. It's autumn here in Czech Republic, so I think, yeah, that's the coughing time. Apologies for that. But yeah, no, I should be COVID-free at the moment, so that shouldn't be the problem. So the Agile business structures is what can be, it's business structures as well as technology structures. That is what can be well described and managed and maintained by the holistic business architecture that I'm going to talk about in more depth today. So it's the enterprise-wide view, this is the team level, and then we have the individual view of the individual Agile mindset. But when you look at it, it's like, it's a very simplified perspective that I put in this schema, because of course, both those dimensions, so the dimension of the scale, so enterprise-wide, team-wide, and individual, you can apply this across all the other values on the other dimension, which is structure, culture, and mindset. So you would also have the, I think I need to actually upgrade the schema, but if any of you have any ideas about the nice graphical expression of this across both the dimensions, I would be grateful for your suggestions. So you also, of course, need to apply the mindset across all the three levels. So the enterprise level, team level, individual level, the structures, there would be business and technology structures on the enterprise level that you need to manage across the company end to end. Then there are structures, business and technology structures within the team. And then you, of course, have it is business and technology structures on the level of the individual. So when I say technology structures, it would be the different applications and tool sets that the individual has available. We can mention the example of Jira, right, and its functionality, but also when we talk about structures, it's the structures of the mind. So this is something that I studied quite extensively in my neuro-linguistic programming training. So if somebody is interested, we can have some more in-depth discussion on that. It's an amazing topic, and it's really, I see it as applying the architectural discipline on the on the topic of the human mind. And it's amazing that there are commonalities that, of course, as human beings, we all have, regardless how our different personalities and different cultures actually play out. So these would be those three dimensions. So if we abstract from the dimension of the scale, then there would be those structures, culture, and mindset. And when we talk about holistic business architecture, which is the term I am using to basically cover both business and enterprise architecture, because those two disciplines are converging. They are based on the same foundations. They are using the same tools, the same methods, but they are still developing as quite different, individual disciplines. The enterprise architecture discipline being a little bit older, a couple of decades older, while the term business architecture started to be really used as an established term just a couple of years back. And there is lots of development. And yeah, I'll show you what the scope of each of those is. So when you look into materials regarding these topics, know that the topic of business architecture, which basically developed and evolved kind of based on business process management as well as techniques from enterprise architecture, is kind of like combining those two, but within a rather limited scope. So I like to put the word holistic in front of the term business architecture to mark like the holistic view of business architecture and enterprise architecture being tackled and managed together as one whole. And that's because it's as one whole. It's hence the word holistic. Okay, let's move on, and I'll be focusing mostly on these business structures from now on, because most of you will be very familiar and even more proficient than myself in the Agile methods and their applications. The individual mindset is not the topic of today's session, but we can have a separate one in the future. So looking at structure, or let's say at different dimensions of the structure of business, a business is really defined by their customers and the needs of the customer. If you don't have customers, who have some needs that you can satisfy, I'm sorry to say, you don't have a business. Probably nobody's gonna, you might have some, charity organization, you might ask for something, but still, even in a charity organization, charitable organization, you would have some needs of those people who are donating you money or some other resources, because it might be satisfying their need for being a helper to somebody, supporting somebody, maybe being seen as helping somebody. It's all different. There is nothing wrong with such a need. It's a normal human need. So there always needs to be somebody who has some needs and hence is ready to interact with you and basically accept some value that you are producing. So when I say value, this should be a very agile language, right? I think it's like, yeah, hitting home the agile way. So when we talk about creating value in the world of architecture, business enterprise architecture, this would be the products and service offerings that we are delivering to our customers. So of course, we are creating this value, we are packaging it as products and services, and packaging it as products and service offerings. Then we are delivering those product service offerings that are addressing customers' needs to our customers. And in the marketplace, of course, there would be other people who are trying to do the same, other companies who are trying to do the same. And that's why we need to identify, define, and materialize our unique value proposition. So the unique value proposition is let's say, a dimension that is based on these 4 dimensions coming together. And as long as we will have some uniqueness about our value proposition, and our value proposition is relevant to our customers' needs, we shall continue being in business as long as the customers have, some means that they can exchange with us, money, barter, some objects, or whatever it's gonna be, some bitcoins going forward. So the unique value proposition is why the customers are buying from us, because we meet their recognized needs So they need to recognize that they have those needs. If we understand they have needs, but they don't recognize that they have those needs, they're not going to buy from us. And across the parameters, they assess your solution against other available solutions in the market, and within budget, they are allocating to solve their challenge. So this is really how the business works. And sometimes when we are working in the agile space, we are so much focused inside in the company, like optimizing the structures, the ways of working of the company, teaching people new ways of thinking, new ways of working. But we need to always stay grounded in the business perspective of the business, of whatever business we are in, if it's for profit, not for profit, country level departments, different ministries and departments of the government that are providing services and products to the citizens. It's always the same. It's always the same paradigm. And if this exists and you have some unique value proposition, you will be in business. And this is what, regardless if we are helping companies on their agile journey, from the agile methods perspective, or with other tool sets, this is where we need to come from. And I'm explaining this in so much detail to make sure that we are landing on the same page, and that we can start from this understanding when I will start describing the business architecture approach. Okay, so this was a smaller portion of something that I was getting quite puzzled about, because a couple of years back, it's really maybe 10 plus years back, I started watching the entrepreneurial community. And in the entrepreneurial community, you would have all this talk about your unique value proposition, and then there was lots of talk about your unfair advantage. And I was thinking, okay, so these are some categories that somehow needs to relate to the enterprise business architecture of the company. So how do I actually map it to the dimensions of business and enterprise architecture? So what I did, I started drawing. I'm like as any other enterprise architecture professional, we are basically meta-modeling the world like non-stop. Meta-modeling meaning we are looking at the structure of the world and being consciously aware about the structure. And the way we do it, we draw so-called meta models. So basically those structured data models, which are showing not the data themselves, but basically the metadata above the data structures. I'm getting in a terminology that not everybody is necessarily familiar with, but it's basically just like doodling a structure of the world. And what I ended up with was the understanding of what the unique value proposition actually is, because that's what keeps you in business. And we need to understand this. If we don't understand that, the top managers, the executive leaders need to understand that. And this needs to be, the alpha and omega of the business always to get, and then you can extend the dimensions. But as long as you are basically making money in our world, that's the blood of business. And as long as we can be making money, which is ensured by us providing some unique value to our customers, then we are in business. So we can't lose this from sight. And then I met this to, what is it? The unfair advantage. So an unfair advantage is something, some ability, some capability that a company or an organization possesses, that is unique about that company and can't be easily copied. Like if you would know all these high fashion show where like they parade, the model parades in a dress, and then the next day every tailor in the world can be creating a similar dress. So that's not the way, you know, you want to operate. You need, of course, if you have the Gucci brand and it was a Gucci dress, there is a market which considers that your unique value proposition, that it's bought, purchased from Gucci. They are getting, you know, top level tailoring, top quality tailoring, top quality fabrics. It might last a lifetime. They might even pass it on their next generations. Some might like that, you know, it's the brand and it would be an easily recognizable brand. So their fashionable friends would know they are wearing a Gucci, and it can help their status. It can help their business in this way, or, you know, in their life in this way. So for Gucci, the unfair advantage would be the brand of Gucci, but it's not just the brand, it's the qualities that come with the brand. For some other companies, it would be yeah, like you might have some unique business model, like, you know, when Uber entered the space of basically public transportation. Their unique or their unfair advantage was that there was no other platform like this, and they had the ability to scale and so on. So I heard a story which I really like, about two guys who started a chocolate making factory. And, you know, chocolate making factories, like, there are so many chocolate factories in the world. How do you distinguish yourself from other chocolate making factories? So their unfair advantage was that they purchased, and it's directly translated into a unique value proposition. They purchased a very, very old ship. Like, I need to check the article, but it was from like 16th or 17th century, like a really old school ship, everything made of wood. And what they did, they were Americans from, I think, from the West Coast. So they set the sails and sailed down to Latin America. Then they purchased the best coffee beans they could find in the Latin American country, somewhere in Peru or Ecuador. They put this journey on social media, so everybody was already watching them. And then they brought those cocoa beans up to Northern America. And in their factory, people could watch via, you know, through the social media, how they were making chocolate bars out of those very cocoa beans they just purchased in Latin America. So people became part of the community, part of the journey. And this became their unfair advantage. So they had crowds of customers waiting for those chocolate bars because they felt part of the journey. But to be able to do that, they needed some special capabilities of the company. And the capabilities, when this is the perspective from which you want to be looking at an organization. When you look from the business/enterprise architecture perspective, from the holistic business architecture perspective, this is the mindset. So we then see an organization as basically a bundle of capabilities, and we are managing these capabilities and enabling the organization to identify, document, manage, maintain those capabilities, and, you know, introduce new capabilities that they need for the future. Retire old capabilities they won't need anymore because the market changed and their technology changed, and, you know, we are living in this ever unfolding world. And this is what I believe is a very important perspective of an organization, or applied on an organization, when we talk business agility. Because when you talk business agility, as opposed to Agile, which are those Agile methods and principles and frameworks, and we all know those. But the agility, business agility, is the outcome that we want to get for the company. It's capability of a company to keep changing with their environment, with their ever unfolding, ever changing marketplace and needs of their customers. So we have the customer needs here, but there are, of course, everything else: availability of resources, pricing of resources. So we are at the moment living in times of unprecedented disruptions, right? prices are just prices of many things are going up at an unprecedented rate, or maybe precedented during some very crazy economical events in the past. So all this needs to be reflected, and all this needs to be translated into abilities of the company to serve their customers, to deliver, to produce, identify, develop, produce in-house or via outsourcing partially or fully products and services, bundling these in the product service offerings that match the customer's needs based on the parameters that the customer expects and is ready to pay for, and delivering this to the customers. So now where we are going to dive into is the view of the capabilities. So I hope this schema makes sense. There are some additional components here in the schema, but this is basically what I really wanted to focus on today. Coming from the customer focused perspective, that's the alpha and omega of Agile view of the world, right? Like, we are ultimately customer oriented. Everything what we do is needs to be adding value to our customer. Otherwise, we are not doing it. And this is what we need to be able to do, and this is what we need to be able to evolve to be doing. Okay, so I will be talking about this Blue Heart architecture canvas in a minute in detail. But what this is about is basically, you need to understand what are those capabilities, business capabilities of your company now, and what are the resources you have available, what are the capacities of those business capabilities and of those resources. How does every single component of your company relate to you delivering value to your customers? So what is our business strategy? What is our business model? What is our operating model based on this? What are the important dimensions of the outer world? For example, the legislation, which also keeps changing rapidly. Legislation around the COVID measures that apply to many different areas of the business operations, not only on like how far away from each other your employees and customers need to be, but of course there are impacts, there are financial impacts of those measures through you having to purchase resources that you never purchased before, like the tests and the masks and the shields, and this is completely like shifting the business model and the operating model of companies across sectors. So to start with, on your business architecture journey, business enterprise architecture journey, you need to first map, and that's the first step, map how your company looks like now. You don't need to map everything to every level of detail. This is a very common misconception, even among people who are, getting onboarded on business architecture, enterprise architecture projects. It's like, it's this fear of, oh my gosh, it's gonna be huge and we have to describe every detail. That's not necessary. You go to the level of detail that is necessary for you at the moment because of the challenges you are facing and the projects you want to be focusing on. Of course, you have to have a top level overall view across all perspectives, and those perspectives need to be interrelated to each other on this top level. That's a must. Otherwise, you need to manage your organization as a whole, and that's why you need to describe your organization as a whole and how those major dimensions are interrelated in the current state, so in the as-is state. So first you map what your organization is now, so that you know what you are working with. If you don't know what you are working with, you don't know, you're navigating, blindly, you will have lack of capacity down the track when you will go into a transformation of your business capabilities. You will have unexpected delays because you will be missing people's skills and competencies. You might be missing some key information and data that you might have to be purchasing, a couple of months back, and now you have to, or a couple of days back, and now you have to wait. Your budget would be overflowing because, or you will be running out of budget because you would need extra resources to secure those resources you didn't know you didn't have. So it's super, super important to have this high level aggregate view of your organization for this long-term strategic management of your company, as well as for the evolution and transformation of the business agility of your company, because business agility is about evolving your company across all business capabilities and working always on those, and improving or retiring or just maintaining capabilities that are relevant for you at that moment or going forward. So then you need to map. So we are still in the first step. You need to map the to-be state. So of course you don't again need to map the entire company, how it should look like in the future, and what will be the names of all employees and the specific computer programs you will be using in like 10 years. But you need to have this picture of this overall overview of this current state, amended with the changes that you need to make because of the changes that are happening in the market, are happening, in the legislation, or that you want to make to your business model to be able to scale, to be able to serve, other types of customers. Sorry, I will stop the alarm because I wanted to make sure I won't run too much over time. Just a second, I'll make sure. Yeah, it shouldn't be ringing anymore. So you need to map the to-be state. And then when you have done that, that's still preparation. That's still, being in the analytical phase. And sometimes in the Agile world, we are like, yeah, let's not waste much time with analysis. Let's just like go and get things done, right? But now we are talking about strategic level of the entire enterprise, of the entire organization. And you have to have a blueprint. You have to have a plan. You have to have a vision of where you are going. Otherwise, you would be doing things that are not getting you where you want to go as an organization. And then based on this, so, in the normal day-to-day life, we would say we would look at this as a enterprise evolution or enterprise transformation program. So we would define some high-level epics based on the changes that need to be done. And we would start going into the modify stage when we would work on those different business capabilities and really evolving them using our agile methods and techniques. We don't have to do it the waterfall way anymore, right? Because we know better, and we unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, it's simply that way that the reality is unfolding so fast that we can't deal with it just with the pure waterfall methods. We have to use much broader portfolio, and definitely employing more and more agile approaches. And as we will be modifying our business capabilities one by one as we need to, we will head towards the level of mastery in those disciplines and in those steps that we already practiced again and again in our companies, and we will be building this as a competency. So one of the goals, if there was one, would be to move towards the higher level of mastery with the combined holistic business architecture and agile application towards the business agility, increased business agility of the company. And I see we are nearing the end of our session. So Padma, do we have any questions in our chat, or maybe from our
Not yet. I think you can probably finish this slide and we may have by then.
Okay, so what I'll do, because the next step that I wanted to take, and now I see I might have to navigate this way. I wanted to provide a little bit of overview of this Blue Heart architecture canvas and how does what I spoke about until now actually apply here, and how you can use this canvas to apply holistic business architecture in your company or your client's company, and how this can really help you navigate this evolution of business capabilities. So same as what I described with this customer focus, customer orientation, the business architecture canvas, you start applying it from the customer's dimension, which is in the top right corner. I always have to focus on, right and left. And this is exactly what I was talking about, right? Understanding your customers, understanding their needs, all different. In business architecture, enterprise architecture, we have different views, different types of diagrams, different types of reports that we can use to describe our customers. You can use customer journey mapping here. You can use customer experience, other customer experience management techniques, customer segmentation, identifying the needs of your customer. Then you design and develop your products and services so that you satisfy your customers' needs. This informs the way in which you have to operate. So the activities that you need to perform as an organization, or your partners might be you might be outsourcing your activities to your partners, and the activities and the dependency of those activities on each other, the sequence and the logic of maybe branching those process flows between the activities would help us. So the aspects, the different parameters of the products and services help us design our processes, as does our business strategy and our goals and KPIs and KGIs and OKRs, the requirements from our risk management and compliance with regulation, legislation, the availability and skill set and certifications of the people who would be working with us within our company or in our partner companies, and their capacity. And of course, there will be some data and information that we are processing. So when we look at this higher half, the top half of this canvas, that would actually help us identify and design our business capabilities, because business capabilities, which I was talking about, and I was saying that we would be looking at our organization as a, let's say, bundle, a combination of business capabilities. How do we identify those business capabilities so that we know which business capabilities we need to be transforming, evolving on a continuous basis? Is we go through this analysis, define our processes based on these other additional perspectives, and that informs what abilities our company needs to have and defines our business capabilities. And then here you see we are on the edge of the technological world. I won't go into details here, but of course, every business these days is partly a technological business, so we would have to take care of that as well. But this is how you define the business capabilities, and this is how business capabilities will help you build the business agility of your company, if you will be managing them, which business architecture, enterprise architecture will help you to do. Okay, I saw there was some question maybe from...
there is a question, Dana. The question, one is actually, what's your thought actually, basically? What the question is, in service companies, the companies that are in the service industry, I think the best way to map is to consider the clients they're working with, given that the client's holistic business architecture determines the business needs of the service provider. So if I'm a service
Yes.
provider, instead of having my own way of doing, I would like to align with the service companies, the client I'm working with. So how do you,
Yes.
you have been in that space as well yourself. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's the same process. So you need to identify uh, the products and services that you are providing to your customers, and you look at what would be contractual agreements and SLAs, or additional needs and parameters that you can find out about their customers. So what I'm always starting with is a customer journey map, if I can do that. So in a situation when I'm already a company which is already operating within certain space of the market, I would start with my product and service portfolio, and I would map the types of customers or the individual clients to those products and services, and look at what are the parameters of those products and services that those possibly even individual customers are requesting. You would find this in your contract, or in their proposed contracts. You might have some. There might be, I think even more important would be some of those unwritten parameters that are just like expected and nobody put it in writing. And those you can find out really from subsequently modeling those customer journeys. Basically, customer journey map is a view of your customer's process from their perspective. So it's a process model, and like a good customer journey map will be a process model, but it's a specific process model that shows your customer's steps and thinking, and we add the emotional outcomes of some interactions with us. So you would have the customer journey, you would have your business process and the interactions between the customer and yourself, and you would define the parameters of those interactions. And you are, of course, as part of customer experience management, you would be working to improve the experiences of your customer and their parameters. And that informs, again, the way you design your activities, and that informs what capabilities you need to have in your company in order to provide this level of service and along these parameters to your clients. So it would be more like kind of this let's say axis, but it's a curved axis, which you would maybe for each product, for each service, look at for a combination of customer and product, customer and service, look at the customer journey map, look at your process steps and processes supporting this customer journey. And there will be different business processes, different departments of your company interacting with the same customer on the same customer journey. But based on this, you identify the parameters of the activities, of your process steps, of your activity within the interactions with the customers. And that would define your business capabilities. And then you apply the same approach that we spoke about. I hope this was somewhat understandable.
I think so. There are a couple of more questions. Do you want to do a little bit of the slide, or you want to take the questions, Dana?
Yeah, let's take the questions. Yeah, I'm done with my content.
Perfect. So here is a question from Boris. What do you think? What do you consider are the main success factors in implementation of the to be state, and how to ensure the customers are really satisfied? Very tricky. Tell somebody here is where
Tricky
you are.
question. Yeah, hi Boris. Nice to have you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the question. This is a very complex question because it goes across multiple disciplines. But of course, those disciplines need to work together. And I was already mentioning the customer experience management discipline, which mostly in companies, I didn't see it really implemented in a way which would be very integrated with business and enterprise architecture, as well as maybe Agile perspective. So yeah, because in large organizations, as we all know, there are so many different parts of this organization, and it's difficult sometimes to find how to best work together. But I think for reaching the real business agility, it's absolutely necessary that customer experience management, business and enterprise architecture, and the Agile implementation, that those disciplines work really closely together with product development and service development and product and service management and delivery. Like you really need to start integrating the company. And where I see, I know I'm diverging a little bit from your question, Boris, but what I feel is important is making sure that you integrate those disciplines and that you have an integrated view that you keep evolving and keep managing. And that's where I believe the business, holistic business architecture is enabling the top management to keep this aligned, integrated view, aggregated one, of course, on this level, so that they can have the right information in the right format for evolution, for the strategic decision making about the future of the company. And so your question was really about, how to make sure that you can implement the to-be state in a way that serves you and the customer. You need to implement metrics, of course, and I would really, focus in the first place at the, let's say, like kind of end metrics, end game metrics. And so number one would be the financial metrics, like, are you making money? Are you not making money? Analysis of which customer segments are you most, are you gaining more, earning most revenue from? Are you more profitable from? And this needs to be the end game, because if you don't have money to have the ability to execute your business, you're out of business, and you don't want that. But at the same time, even if you are doing really well, you want to scale, and you want to scale in a way which is going to be optimized, right? You want to put the least possible effort and resources into the most scale and most revenues and profit. And I'm talking about the profit and revenues, and it might sound very like old school, old world, like yeah, she's the money girl. I'm actually, as a process management, enterprise architecture, business architecture professional as my background. I feel like sometimes we are a little bit, and I'll use a very strong word here, but like not a bad word, but just a strong one. Like we are getting a little bit brainwashed by the like focus on the craft and perfecting our craft, but we can't lose sight of what we are actually doing in the organization as the whole. And our role is to support this organization and help the organization to do well. And when I say the organization, I'm not saying it's just about the money, but it is about the money as well. Like it can be, we can focus on our customers to be happy. We can focus on our employees to be happy. And it's super, super important. Like I am the one who would be, reposting those posts on LinkedIn. Like it's super, super important. And it's absolutely vital. Like I am somebody who proposes that businesses should be enablers of communities, and like just this thought, like it's such a complex topic that I'm not even going into that, but you can hear that it has so many different dimensions, and the business should be responsible and behave responsibly to all the stakeholders, all the, not only shareholders, but all the stakeholders and all the people and all the, animals and beings and forests and the planet, definitely. But the business can't do it without the money that in the current setup we have, in the current economic setup we have. So that's why I'm emphasizing so strongly the importance of the customer orientation, including the financial sustainability and this perspective. So that's where I would start measuring from, and making sure that, whatever we are doing, we are not compromising the long-term sustainability of our company, which I believe should be the goal, one of the key goal, or let's say the minimum goal of business agility. We want to create a company or a structure of a company and keep evolving it so that the company can be sustainable and grow and thrive in the future and keep bringing those benefits to the community, benefits in terms of the value it's directly producing, as well as the benefits in terms of employing people and benefits of serving those customers in their markets, and benefits of making sure they are complying with everything. So it's benefit of safety and responsibility on all frontiers, but really starting with always looking at what's the results that whatever we are doing for the company. So the metrics would start with that, and then of course you would have metrics that focus on the growing the maturity of all those disciplines. And I mentioned customer experience management, enterprise architecture, business architecture, agile implementation, and product development, product delivery. Supply chain management, right? Like supply chain management today, for some of the companies these days, is it's not easy. The supply, the container business globally is 20%, has 20% less capacity than would be needed. And so it's becoming super, super important. So even identifying the disciplines that the company needs to develop going forward and maybe become more proficient in, and maybe outsource or insource, that's super important. And this is part of the ongoing work where the business architecture focus can help. When we talk about the metrics, so metrics around maturing all those disciplines, because if you don't mature them, you won't be able to improve your ability to build the business agility as a capability. So it's all it's all interrelated, the same as all those dimensions. They look like just rectangles next to each other here, so they are all interrelated. We know it's part of one whole. This picture doesn't really show it, but we know it. We know that for one company to work efficiently, you need all those dimensions to be taken care of. If you stop taking care of any of them, it might start falling apart. So you don't want to do that. So that's the same with making sure that you are moving sustainably in the to-be state. And when we spoke about I just go back to this slide. It's not like we go to 2B and that's it. Your 2B keeps evolving. That's you have one 2B and then tomorrow it's another 2B. So you need to have a discipline of evolving your definition of your 2B state and your vision, mission, purpose. And at the same time, you keep evolving your essays. So it's super complex, which suggests you need the right knowledge, you need the right skill sets, you need the right tool set. You can't do this with pen and paper on scale. So you can start with some simple tools that you have available, and draw things in Microsoft PowerPoint and continue with some spreadsheets. But on scale, for large businesses, you need dedicated tooling for to be able to sustain this. You can't just do this, thinking that you don't have to invest in tools and skills. It's a run on a long distance run.
From Amresh. So to embrace business agility, while we are in agile transformation, where do we stand? Here I'm assuming when I say agile transformation, probably Amresh is referring to the technical agility we are building from an engineering practices, or a product agility we are bringing in a while in the product practices, and then looking at a linear approach of business agility coming into the picture. That's what I'm assuming. So what's your take? Like, where do we stand when I'm doing agile transformation versus embracing business agility?
So for me, business agility is ability to do a continuous business transformation, if this makes sense. So what I'm showing here on this slide, that you go from here to here, it then becomes a continuous, iterative, never-ending process where this keeps changing. Of course, this keeps changing if you are, doing something and really changing the landscape, the business capabilities you have available, and that's the reality of the company. That's the real ability to execute whatever you are doing. So this keeps changing. This keeps changing. The environment within which you are operating keeps changing. So and then you have all those dimensions. So you want to build agility around each of those dimensions. You mentioned the product agility. You mentioned we need to build agility within our technology space, and that would be the pieces of the puzzle where I would really start from, which I know historically wasn't really happening for companies, because like what I'm talking about is a fairly new like it's not a new idea, to be very honest. Like in the field of enterprise architecture, this is basically the foundational idea of the field as it was evolved or started evolving some 20-30 years ago. But our ability to really do this, and the top management, and I mean top management of like different companies in different industries on different continents, the focus and the readiness of the top managements to really embrace this notion of this continuous evolvability, continuous agility of company is now becoming in focus because now the business environment really demands it. So if I was starting now, and even whatever else the company is already doing, I would go, to the drawing board and start mapping these high-level views of those high-level of those dimensions, which is really creating like high-level as is business and enterprise architecture structure or view, defining the to be. This is something which sometimes is a little bit underestimated, and I think even as Agile is becoming more and more present in our companies, it's sometimes exacerbating it, because it's kind of like, oh, okay, so we will just like go with the flow. Yeah, Agile is go with the flow, but go purposefully with the flow, and the purpose needs to translate into a vision of the leaders of an organization. If we are, just chasing ghosts, we will be spreading ourselves too thin. We won't be scalable. You don't want that. Yes, I think many business owners tried this in the past, and I think all of us, even as individuals with our lives, we fall into this trap every now and then. So what we really need to understand what our company is and what it isn't, and what resources we have, what we don't have, what capabilities we have, what we don't have, what capacity of those each capabilities we have, and understand the future demands of our customers. So you need some market research capability. Like if you don't, keep your very close connection, very close collaboration with your customers and have the feedback loop from your salespeople or your call center people who interact with customers and harvest those experiences and the data from the interactions. That's super important, because that's informing your definition of the to-be state. So that's the vision, and your business's vision translated into the business enterprise architecture structure. And then you identify, what are the gaps in between, and you prioritize these gaps. The prioritization, that's always the challenge, but it needs to be done, and there are ways to do it, and to do it well. And then after you prioritize those gaps, you start working on them, and you can be working in the normal agile manner. So you can apply your safe implementation and start tackling those like basically building those solutions. Because what happens is in the business capabilities, when we need a new business capability or some new aspect of an existing business capability, it highlights a gap in our business capability between what we have and what we want to have, between as is and to be. And then this gap is translated into a need for some project, for some solution. And this is how our normal project management was operating, and we were building those capabilities. Usually we were focusing, and we were so much better in the IT space, I think, or there was also focus on it because it's also very costly. And now when we don't have the waterfall, like most of the time we don't have that much waterfall focus on or methods applied on evolving those business capabilities and basically filling those gaps with solutions. We can treat those gaps in our business capabilities as an organization as gaps that need to be filled with solutions. And those solutions can be business solutions, can be business and technology solutions, can be pure technology solutions. And we manage these as normal, like we would define those basically like top level. Some agile practitioners don't like to call it projects, and you have the hashtag no projects. I personally wouldn't be so strict. So I know sometimes it depends on the organization. If the word project comes with too much legacy and you can't, it stops you from moving into the agile space, you would need to drop the name and you would need to name it something else. But you can keep the label as well, and you can define basically programs, projects of work, and then treat them as agile, initiatives, and define those epics on the high level, and then detail the features and treat them as any normal development, and do this on the continuous basis. And then like the prioritization of how you tackle which of those business capabilities and what you tackle first and where you have the focus. That's one of the key key challenges, I would say, and a thing that I would keep a very keen eye on, and making sure that like SAFE is proposing keeping a small number of initiatives running in parallel and things like this, because otherwise you will run out of your internal resources of people being able to support all this multitude of projects that need to be implemented. So yeah, so it goes in the normal like project program management / agile implementation world. But what the business architecture perspective is helping with is to put a framework above all this and help you with the prioritization and help you to stay on course with your customer focus, help you to stay on course, making sure that an organization as a whole is creating value, not just your individual products being focused on a value for a specific customer. Because like it would be kind of the same if you are in the software development industry, but if you are in a different industry, the value you are getting from software product development versus the value your customers are getting from your end product and services development is different, and it's different in nature. It needs to be managed in slightly different ways. I hope that helped somewhat to answer the question. So yeah, so first as is, then define the to be, make sure you have good information from the customer, keep evolving the to be. It needs to be an ongoing activity, keep evolving the documentation of the as is, keep defining the gaps, and keep evolving your portfolio of changes that need to happen within the business capabilities space, and apply the agile methods and techniques to actually make this happen.
So thank you so much for being with us, Dana. I'm sure you are going to help us with the PDF version of this presentation so that we could share it with our participants. Thank you so much for being with us today.